think your analysis was very straight-lined. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing frogs.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got that.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
okay,
an
it's good.
erratic
Mikhail
detective is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? No, you deal with that. You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
You apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hello there, welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show with Co-Host Akash Persaud. Because of an emergency, Mr. Persaud is not here, and one of our guests, Wasir Baksh of Guyanese Islamic Trust, he's not here either. These emergency things crop up, it's part of life. But we have a panel that is overflowing with analysis and assessments, adumbrations, or what have you, about what has been taking place in the world the past 6 months in an area called Gaza and the wider implications. As you know, the American campuses all over the United States are lighted with pro-Palestinian sentiments. And if you see those videos, you would think, based on what our colonial leaders, our colonial empires told us, these things only occur in dictatorship. Only in dictatorships do police rush into places, brutalize people, lash them up, stomp them up, lick them down on the ground. But you see the videos, and that's what the police are doing to campus students who are not shooting or fighting with anyone. They're encamped, protesting, and the police are descending on them all over the place. There's a second thing that we need to know about this 6 months invasion of Gaza by the Israelis. And this is important, and this is going to be one of the subjects that we're going to ask one of our panelists who's a former president of Guyana. And since I've known him more than 50 years ago, we were young together in anti-dictatorship struggle. He's always had as his favorite topic international relations. Now, it was unthinkable for anyone to think in this world that a country would attack Israel. The way the Western media portrayed Israel the past 60 years, this is a powerful military machine that perhaps only the big powers like China, Russia could take on. Any other power in the world, Israel would defeat them. But the invincibility of Israel collapsed 2 weeks ago. Iran directly attacked Israel. And you know what is the expectation? When you touch Israel, Israel come with brimstone on you. This widespread bombing and destruction. But there was a little retaliation to Iran. Why this big and bad military might of Israel was subdued? and it was subdued by Iran. What are the implications for that? Have we now seen the collapse of the invincibility of Israel? Secondly, the Israeli threatening to go into Rafah. That is where all the refugees have run from the 6-month bombing and there. To bomb Rafah is to descend to worse levels of Nazi atrocity. You're going to kill hundreds of thousands of innocent people. There is just no alternative. If the Israeli bomb Rafah, they will be literally bombing a cluster of 1 million people just sitting there waiting to be bombed. In our studio this evening is Saudi-based Islamic teacher, someone that I've known for a long, long time and do admire as a decent Guyanese, Brother Haseeb Yusuf, and our former president, Donald Ramotar, who has been speaking extensively on the invasion of Gaza. I shared a platform with him 3 weeks ago at the CIOG. So, having said all of that, let's welcome the former president of Guyana, and let's welcome Haseeb Yusuf. Donald, always nice to share a panel with you.
Thank you, Freddie.
Let's start with the former president. What has happened now? Israel has been bombed. There is no big bombing of Iran.
Yeah. I think that the myth of Israel invincibility was shattered some time ago when they invaded Lebanon. And they had their first encounter with Hezbollah. And Hezbollah gave them such a licking that they withdrew from Lebanon. That's the early part of this century that took place. But of course, Israel itself, people don't realize, so in my view, is an artificial state. Israel would not have existed without not only the military weapons and military support of the United States, but United States gives Israel a huge amount of economic support as well. And it's the only country that they give them support and then they can reinvest that money back into the United States and make a lot of money. And Israel, therefore, is totally dependent on the United States militarily and also from the point of view of economics. They have developed some of their own skills over the period of time in technology and so forth. They have developed some capacity, but fundamentally, Israel is existing at the wishes of the United States. Now, as I told you, they had a really big slap in their face when they went into Lebanon and intended to crush Lebanon, and they had to run out. They had a lot of losses in there and came to a settlement with the Hezbollah forces. Now, you spoke about what happened with Iran when they attacked the embassy of Iran or the diplomatic building missions in Iran in Syria. That is just like if you attack Iran as a country, because those are in international relations. You don't attack property, embassies and so forth are considered part of the state of that country. And Iran, I think, was forced to answer. For a long time, Iran was trying to avoid having a clash because I think they understand that a clash with Israel would have been a total war with the two of them. And I don't think, with all the propaganda about Iran being a warmongering state and financing terrorism and all of that, Iran's action never portrayed that they are looking for war. They support resistance movement in the Middle East, in Hezbollah, in Hamas, and they support these forces, which is a legitimate thing of solidarity to support these type of forces. But they're not necessarily looking for war. And this attack forced them to respond to Israel. And their response to Israel was very, very telling. One, it was telling in the sense that the capacity that they have, the missiles that they wanted to hit Israel, did hit Israel, did damage, a serious of 2 damage to their airfield, and so forth. The other part of what they did, what it did from a military point of view and economic point of view, they forced Israel to display many of where their defenses are from a military point of view in shooting down a lot of their useless drones that they sent, old drones and so forth. They forced them to expose that. And at the same time, these drones cost Iran not very much money, a couple of $1 million. But to shoot down one of them with one of the missiles that Israel had to use cost millions of dollars. So Israel ended up spending a lot, maybe more than $1 billion. The United States probably amounted about the same thing. And Iran, with very cheap technology, has now been able to gather a lot of information about Israel's capacity. And at the same time, sending a message to Israel that we can hit you when we want, because the two missiles, the two advanced missiles that they used, both went through their defenses and hit military bases.
Haseeb, before we come to you, and we need to inform our viewers, especially in the diaspora, that the Palestine government ambassador to the United Nations was here last week. That was given extensive coverage in the Daily Chronicle. And the Minister for International Cooperation of the Palestine government is here in Guyana. He's here with the Palestine government ambassador to Guyana. Yes, Guyana has recognized the state of Palestine, and there is an ambassador accredited by the Palestinian government to Guyana. That lady a few years ago presented her credentials to President Donald Ramotar. So those two people are in Guyana at the moment. Myself and the two panelists here had the privilege of having breakfast with them at the Princess Hotel. And it was quite interesting what they have to say. The minister said that he appreciates what Guyana has done and looking forward for further cooperation. I think there is some plan to have 3 days of Palestinian culture with films put on show. So, in case you didn't know that, if you're in the diaspora, the minister of the Palestinian government for international cooperation based on the West Bank is in Guyana, and the Palestine government ambassador to Guyana is in Guyana right as we speak. So, before we go to Haseeb, please remember this. I will keep showing you it. There is a vigil on Saturday, May 11th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the Seawall, the Seawall Esplanade. You know where that is, where the bandstand is. I will keep reminding you about that. Haseeb, you're based in Saudi Arabia, and you have a feel about what's going on in the Middle East. Do you think that Israel will be so crazy to attack Rafah? The death toll is going to be just horrendous.
Yes. What is coming out now is that, it's like they are using that as a bargaining chip. And Israel there are intense negotiations going on at the moment for a ceasefire and exchange of the hostages and freeing the Palestinian prisoners, and trying to bring this hostility, this war, this genocide to an end. And so Israel is using all the leverages that they have at their disposal to negotiate. And so there's this constant threat of the bombing, the invasion of Rafah. And like you rightly said, it's like 1 million people crammed together in this little space on the Egyptian border that is just waiting for, this horrendous massacre, this horrendous continuation of the genocide to climax. And nobody wants that. You see what's happening, the global outrage. This has reached to the point where they're saying that this hasn't happened since, 63, sometime in the 60s, where you had this kind of uprising in the
the anti-Vietnam War.
The anti-Vietnam War in the university campuses in the United States of America. And that is spreading. That is spreading all over the world. This
And it's gone to France,
is
Australia.
not coming to an end. People are horrified. It's the first time we are seeing televised genocide, in witnessing it on an everyday basis, actually on a minute by minute basis, because of social media, because of the courage and the resilience of the people of Gaza to actually film their own genocide. They are there looking at everything, recording everything. They are actually they have set up commissions among themselves to record all of the atrocities. We have mass graves. We have millions, thousands of people that are missing. Atrocities on the scale that is unimaginable in a modern world, to see this kind of massacre. And this has exposed the plan and the plots of Israel all along. The occupation, the intensification of the occupation, the brutal nature of it, and then this crippling siege of Gaza. So now we have Rafah, this whole idea of using Rafah as a bargaining chip. I dare the Israelis to invade Rafah. And we don't want that because we know it will be massacre on a scale that is unimaginable. But I don't think that the Americans would want to, at this stage, green light in any way Rafah, even in secret negotiations. Publicly, they're saying they're warning Netanyahu and the war cabinet not to dare attack Rafah. But I think they are genuine when it comes to Rafah. It's going to cost not only the Israelis, it's going to cost the Americans, and is going to lead to conflict. At the moment, Blinken is preparing for his other trip to the Middle East. He's going to meet Jordan, he's going to meet Saudi Arabia, he's going to go to Israel to see what he can do to mitigate against this pending threat of the invasion of Rafah. The Netanyahu government, the right-wing extremist government of Israel, their idea is the ethnic cleansing. Their idea is to push the people in Rafah over the border and to get on with the job, to end the job. And their idea is to eliminate Hamas. And we know that that's an impossible task with the kind of casualties that they have been having and the kind of resistance that they have faced from Hamas. It's almost impossible for them to pursue that line. So this is my analysis. I think there is a glimmer of hope that this is not going to happen. And if it do happen, it's going to change the whole dynamics of what is happening on the ground at the moment.
I'm going to ask both of you a question which is very sensitive. And I know this program was advertised early 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. So which means it's gone out to Israeli people around the world, and they probably would be listening, especially you have a former president here. So I'm going to ask you a sensitive question. If it's too sensitive, let's pass on, because you probably would not want to say something that the Israelis listen to it would say, how to put this over? Look, the both of you, it was said that nearing the beginning of 2023, Iran may likely to have the bomb, nuclear. That is nearing 2023. We're now in 2024. Israel has been preoccupied with bombing Gaza, bombing people, killing 30,000 Palestinians. If Iran was likely to have that thing in the beginning of 2023, the both of you, is it not possible they have it now? If you don't want to answer, let's pass, because you wouldn't want to say yes, and then the Israelis say, look, you know.
No, I don't think they have it. I don't think Iran, first of all, I don't think Iran wants to build the bomb. The only reason that they wanted to build a bomb because they're surrounded. If you look at where Iran is situated, almost every country that borders it has the bomb. They have China, Russia, Pakistan,
India.
Israel, India, and that would probably make them nervous. But I believe the Iranians have come to the conclusion that to use this bomb is not only will kill their enemies, but it will kill them themselves. And I believe that they feel that they have powerful enough deterrents and weapons to defend themselves in case of any attack. Even if there's a nuclear attack, I think the amount of conventional weapons and the quantity that they have can probably compensate for that. So I don't believe Iran has the bomb. I think Iran give it up. I know it give up that desire when they signed that agreement with Obama and I don't think they went back. Even the international agency, the IAEA, have said that they don't have the bomb, and these people got ways and means of measuring this. So I don't think Iran has the bomb, and I think they have given up the idea of trying to get the bomb. I wanted to just comment on this Rafah impending invasion. I am not as optimistic as my comrade here that they will not invade.
No, that's going to be terrible consequences.
Because their intention the intention is genocide. If you look at their targets, they've destroyed hospitals. They just bomb another hospital that stored about 4,000 to 5,000 embryos. They destroyed that. Their targets are children. They're not bombing residential houses and so forth. Means that they're targeting children, they're targeting young women, killing them and so forth. The whole idea is to either force them to get out of the strip and force them to get out of Palestine completely, not only those in the Gaza, but those on the West Bank, to push them out. And that is why they're using the settlers to attack every day and kill Palestinians, invading people's houses and killing them and so forth. And so they're killing journalists, they're killing medical personnel. There are cases where they shot doctors while they were in the process of operating on people. So if you look at that mindset that exists in Israel at this point in time, they don't care if they have to kill every single Palestinian. They are probably willing to do that. All they want is the support, and they have the most powerful country in the world supporting them. All the talk that America has been saying, my comrade is putting out some faith in them that they mightn't want to see this happen. But they haven't stopped supplying the weapons. They have not stopped supplying the enormous amount of weapons to the Israelis. They continue to defend them politically in the United Nations and in other parts of the world. Listen to any other press conference from any one of the officials of the United States, from the president right down to whoever else speaks on behalf of the American government. It is in total defense of Israel. There's no much the most criticism you hear, well, maybe too many innocent people are dying. But still blame Hamas for it, forgetting history. They speak to us as if history began on October 7th. So I am more worried that they might very well attack. Furthermore, you got to take into consideration that Israel wants to find a way to get America even more deeply involved, actively involved, because they know that if they do that, it is possible that maybe Iran might try to come to their assistance, and Americans will try to use their own people there, although some people feel that American soldiers are already sometimes in the Gaza. So I am not as optimistic that they would not attack Rafah. I believe that the possibility is pretty high that they will attack Rafah in probably coming days from now.
Haseeb, probably strategically you will want to say also, like Donald, that they don't have the bomb. I guess you will want to say.
I believe that also. I want to support him because the bomb is it's about deterrence, and it's about in the case of Iran, they're saying they were developing it for scientific purposes and for medical purposes and so on, not for war. And I believe that they have their military capability has significantly increased. You know, we saw this, like he said, the ballistic missiles being fired at Israel and actually hitting their targets. And the whole invincibility drama has been shattered. This is a paper tiger. They can't defeat Hamas until now. They went in there with all the military, all of the weapons from America, and Hamas is still fighting them. The resistance movement is very strong. There are lots of American casualties, and they're entrenched. They can't free the hostages until now. So it's like
there's lots of Israeli casualties.
Israeli casualties, yes, lots of Israeli casualties, which we can't, of course. What we are getting on the media is not the real figures, and they have no idea how they're going to free the hostages. Their idea is their mission is to free the hostages. So they are at the point where I don't think without the support of the Western countries, the support of the Americans, that they would want to push forward with this agenda. I think they're looking for exit strategy. This is in my assessment. I think now they're looking for exit strategy. It's not easy. It's causing the economy of Israel. It's causing there are a lot of internal dissent. You know, you have every day you have all of these protests going on for the freedom of the hostages, and of course at the international level we know that this has caused the international system to collapse. Israel has breached all of the international laws, and how are we going to continue? How is the world going to continue? With seeing all of this. So I think there's a push and there's a lot of effort to see how this can come to an end. Of course, the killing continues. The genocide continues. Iran got involved. Everything was scaled down because we are talking about geopolitics. We are talking about surrogates, and Iran having its proxy. America, Israel is supposed to be the proxy of America in the Middle East to ensure and to guarantee protect their interests in terms of balance of power. But like I said, a lot of these myths have been shattered, and here we are coming down to to more or less a stalemate if it wasn't for the wanton killing of innocent people and atrocities of the scale that we can hardly comprehend.
But the only other point too is that about the only point weighing against that is also Netanyahu is fighting for his own survival. He's fighting to stay out of prison. You know that he has been charged and accused of corruption. And if they hadn't this war, maybe he would have been in jail at this point in time because of the corruption charges. And I think he was found guilty or so by the court. And this war is keeping him out of prison. And he wants to, this is another personal reason on his part to try to keep this war going. Apart from that, he has other right-wing forces like the Minister of Finance and the Minister in charge of Defense who are extremists, racist, Zionists, and who are prepared to kill as much people as possible. So he has those two things that are one, keeping him in the government, and two, pushing him to or facilitating his genocide type of intention that he's doing. So I think that the possibility of a solution, of a settlement. I know that they've said before that they were close to it, but I'm not so sure that the Israeli will not sabotage any type of agreement because of some of these subjective factors that exist, particularly the survival of Netanyahu himself.
Can we talk about international relations? Where the meat of international relations and international issues. Look, gentlemen, Iran, I think, is hundreds of thousands of square miles. I believe its population is somewhere between 50 or 60 million. I haven't got the figures, but I know it's a very large country. Hundreds of thousands of square miles, maybe 500,000, and about 60 million people. How can a country next to that, 8,000 square miles and 8 million people, can that country survive a war between the two?
Well, I think there's several factors. One,
8,000 square miles is not...
the main factor is the power of the United States. The United States is an extraordinarily militarily powerful country, and they're giving the support and backing to Israel. Nobody wants, I believe many countries would want to go and put an end to what is going on there, but nobody wants to have a war with the United States because it will be devastating. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that many of the Arab countries, unfortunately, many of the government in many Arab countries are, I mean, to use a less than diplomatic word, are pretty much corrupt, many of the regimes in these places. And many of them have tied their star with the United States. And they are, if you notice, they have not been saying anything. Even Jordan has been shooting down missiles coming from Iran that was going towards Israel and so forth. So you have a lot of the Palestinian people are fighting a war and in an international environment that is extremely difficult for them. Because this is a war, if once the Palestinians succeed, which I have no doubt in my mind that they will succeed, because the heroism of the Hamas fighters is unbelievable. Israel is losing a lot of soldiers in Gaza. That's why sometimes they're pulling out, and they are talking and wanting to have a 40 days and a 60 days truce in order to try to regroup, because their losses is not being reported fully. And even though after 6 months of bombing, that the Hamas can still fire rockets into Israel, tells you that they have great organization. They're fighting Israel with even though they have inferior weapons, just light weapons they fight. They don't have tanks, they don't have airplanes, they don't have big rockets. They're making these rockets themselves. Their organization is what is important and what is keeping them going and what will allow them to come out victorious in this type of struggle. But what is happening in international relations now, I think it's dangerous not only for the Palestinian people, but for the world. Because a lot of institutions, very important institutions, including the United Nations, seems to be becoming impotent and incapable of discharging a lot of their functions. And many of them, in for want of a better word, have been probably corrupted as well. Because if you take into consideration that Israel has been bombing Gaza for more than 6 months, they have killed officially almost 35,000 people, and
of which more than half are women and children.
Yes, far more than half, more 70% or so forth. Half of our children and the vast majority are civilians. Almost 100% are civilians. They're hardly killing Hamas fighters, because otherwise they would have been displaying that on their television in a big way if they were killing Hamas fighters in any type of thing. And they, up to now, they can't issue an arrest warrant for Netanyahu or any of the officials, But in the second week that Russia went in with their military operation into Ukraine, the Russian government was moving children out of war zone. To get them out of war zone to protect them, there was an arrest warrant issued for Putin. But nothing up to now has been issued for this man Netanyahu and his group. That tells you about what is taking place. Even the International Criminal Court the ICJ, which came out with a pretty good ruling in some sense. I mean, people support it. But I still think they could have gone further. Yeah. They could have gone much further. Why haven't they gone much further? Because I think there's other pressures that are on them that have prevented them from coming out in being more exact. So what I am worried about is the breakdown of international institutions, important international institutions that has kept the peace since the end of the Second World War. And those institutions are now being undermined. And more people will begin, if Israel is getting away with all of this, other countries will feel that, so why not me? Why can't I do some of these things and escape with them? You have the atrocities being committed against the Rohingya people in Myanmar, attacking the Rohingya people. Why won't they say, the good thing there that they're beginning to lose the war there too, because the people are fighting back like hell. But if they had the upper hand, they will kill everybody and have nothing being done against them. So we have to look at this in a bigger scale. It's not only the question about Gaza, but we have to look at it from the point of view of what it means for countries, particularly small developing countries who don't have huge military capacities and so forth. International institution is what is our best protection, and that is why we should continue to fight very, very strong to reverse what is happening in international relations at this point in time.
Before Haseeb coming with the impossibility of rebuilding Gaza, that place is flat. But to simplify it more, let's say the United States keep out, and China and Russia say, look, keep out, as this is going to be a wider war. If there is a direct conflict between Iran, 500,000 square miles, 60 million people, and Israel, 8,000 square miles, 8 million people. If the two of them go to war without the might of the United States, isn't that a foregone conclusion?
I don't think it's not two countries that are side by side with each other. It's not two countries.
But they're not neighbors, right?
And in this case, that war would be more like a technological war, and it will cause serious damage to both countries. I think that's a conscious position that Iran has. It's not that Iran is afraid of Israel, and not that Iran would not be able to.
But 8,000 square miles is not big in a wall.
But it's the cost. They can. I believe that Iran will defeat Israel in a war, but I think they will suffer a lot of casualties as well. Something that you don't want to contemplate. You want to avoid. You put it in that way.
Haseeb, is Gaza doesn't exist? When you look at those pictures, when that is hundreds of billions of dollars and a long time to rebuild. That place has just been flattened.
The cost is enormous. The UN has appointed a special envoy, a special person responsible for the reconstruction, humanitarian reconstruction officer. Person with that responsibility, Ms. Kaas, former FM of the Netherlands, and she is given that responsibility. She has the support of the Americans, and she is saying this is an tremendous responsibility, a tremendous task to rebuild Gaza. You're talking about over a decade to remove the rubble alone. Over a decade, it would take 12 years to remove the rubble. Then it would take, and the rubble, within the rubble, you have unexploded munitions. So to do all of that is very dangerous, it's very costly, it will take a very long time. That's just to remove the rubble. What about reconstruction? Who will pay the cost of the reconstruction? How long will the reconstruction take? And these are things that are almost impossible. Now studies are being done by the different agencies to put figure to all of that, a timeline and figures. So
those people aren't going back. There isn't going to be a modern infrastructure in Gaza.
I think there would be. I think. I don't think
another 25 years.
I don't think you can underestimate the human spirit, and the Gazanians and the Palestinian people have displayed.
But where that money coming from?
But that's the big issue. That is the big issue, because I think Israel should pay compensation for what they've done there, and that is where the big fight will be afterward. But as far as rebuilding is concerned, look at those people, what they're doing without nothing. Israeli killing their people, going for rescue, but they're still going, even with their bare hands, what they're able to clear. So I think they are displaying a remarkable character. The Palestinian people have displayed a remarkable character. The only thing I could ever probably compare it with was the character of the Vietnamese people in their resistance that they're putting up now. And therefore, I know it's going to be a Herculean task, but I do not think that the Palestinian people should be removed from Gaza. I think they are capable of building back their future right there. But those who did the damage must be made to pay for some of these things.
Haseeb, I don't want you to comment. I know you have to travel back to the Middle East, and I don't want to get you into any problem. These shows are being taped, and they don't ever think that they're not shared. So I think you know fully well. So I don't want you to comment. I don't want when you leave back for Saudi Arabia, there is a problem. But when we had breakfast this morning, there was a young lady who was part of the team. She's a Palestinian and she lives in Guyana. She's married to an Egyptian. I think she was the MC for the march at Square the Revolution. And so we were talking, and after the breakfast, and I said, I heard people for you died in Gaza, and I said to her, but couldn't the family have moved out? And this is what she said to me. The Egyptians were charging 5,000 US. So if you didn't have 5,000 US, you die.
Yeah. The Egyptians are charging they call it to extract Gazans to Egypt for medical purposes and for security. And so there are some campaigns online and so on, and people also through their personal contact in the North America, where you actually pay the families to have their people extracted from Gaza. You have to pay the Egyptian.
This is like a backtrack type of operation.
Border authority or
like
whoever.
a backtrack thing, and you got to pay the Egyptians.
And you have
I
to
don't
pay
think
the
it's an
Egyptians.
official thing.
Yeah.
It's a backtrack.
Yeah.
So who collected this money? Egyptian
corrupt
soldiers?
officials. Corrupt
You
officials.
have corrupt officials all over.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, these international conflicts, like Prezi said, you always have these back channels. So this is a back channel, but people, because of the urgency, I know families here also who have been making contributions to people, to get people extracted from Gaza. But yes, when we look at complicity, we can't only talk about complicity in terms of the Americans.
Don't go there. You have to travel. Haseeb, you have to travel. I don't want you to get into look. Let's change the subject. Let's change the subject.
But
I don't want you to talk about.
This is known. There's a peace treaty.
I don't want you to get into any trouble.
There is a peace treaty.
Those Arab countries
between Israel and Egypt. Okay, we know about the peace treaty, and we know Egypt received the second largest military aid
after Israel.
After Israel, and that is to maintain the security. That's known. That's well known to everybody. That's not a secret. Same thing with Jordan. So some of these governments are in the pockets of the Americans through whatever channels, official channels and back channels. That is complicating the issue, because here is where America has to keep the peace, keep the security, keep these regimes in control, because the Arab population are boiling at boiling point. We saw that in the Arab Spring, and we saw the consequence or the result of the Arab Spring. At the end of the day, it was, an Arab catastrophe instead of an Arab Spring, because everybody was expecting major changes in the political system in the Middle East.
Instead, in Egypt, they get Sisi. Sisi's his name?
Yeah, the first democratically elected government was overthrown. Yeah. No hue and cry.
And that was under Obama, yes. The head of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the man died in jail.
They refused to call it a coup because they would have had to stop military support.
That was under Obama.
And they recognized Sisi, and they brought him into the international community. There are many massacres that have to be investigated. In Egypt, the Rabba massacre has to be investigated. These things can't be swept under the carpet. It would not be forgotten forever. Someday it would have to come back to light, like that is happening, all over the world. This is when the system will be revamped, and Abdullah and the Arab governments have been doing well at lip service and keeping their population. We are
watch your words. You have to travel.
But and I know that people have contributed millions of dollars, and Ramadan would have exceeded. I was in Kuwait at one time, and there were massive amount of money that was raised by the ordinary people to send aid to Gaza. So where the Arab masses are concerned, they are fully in support of the Gazans and Palestine and the liberation of Palestine. They're against the occupation, they're against the siege, they're against the massacres, right? But we know the Arab population, that's as much as they can do, because it's not like here, where you can, in some of the countries, in some of the capitals, there is freedom to express yourself, there is freedom to protest and all of that. In some, you don't have that. You don't have that luxury.
I'm putting it to both of you. Is this the end of Israel's credibility in the world? Could Israel survive after what has happened? Hasn't it lost the respect of the world? Do people still see Israel? That's the country where the Jews came from in Germany when they persecuted the Jews and the Holocaust. Isn't that receding now? Do you see third world professors really putting emphasis when they teach world history, putting emphasis on the Holocaust?
They will still talk about the Holocaust, because the Holocaust was a horrible experience of the Jewish people, and that you can't pretend that don't exist. But that don't give the Israeli Zionist regime the right to do the same thing against the Palestinians.
And they're doing the same thing.
And they're doing the same thing. And they to my mind, you're right, their credibility has been severely damaged, completely damaged in a way that they have lost the respect, they have lost the moral grounding Israel, and they have been seen now as a bunch of criminals who are running a state. Yeah, because what else? What other word can you find for Netanyahu and his crew? What other word can you find for what they're doing? Defense. They're saying that Israel got a right to defend themselves against whom? Babies? Against the more than thousands of children that they've killed, and the women that they've killed, and the unarmed people that they bomb in their home or bombing refugees camps and so forth. How is that defending themselves? Against whom? Even if you put Hamas into the picture there, Hamas doesn't have an army. Hamas doesn't have an army. They don't have tanks. They don't have airplanes. They don't have jeeps. Nothing that they have, and yet they're putting up such a terrible fight, and they're destroying.
Just like when the colonials come, the Americans shooting with arrow and bow.
Yeah, no, but it's more or less like they accept that the fact that their cause is so just and their position is so clear that it is inspiring them to the Palestinian people have become undefeatable because of the cause that they are fighting for and defending is a very, very just human cause. And that is why I think that they will, in however long it takes, they will win their freedom and they will have their state and have a state where they can call their own and develop normally.
You both heard, you were at the breakfast table when the Palestine government ambassador to UN, she was saying that this crisis is taking a toll on Israel's economy.
Of course.
She was saying tourism is gone
completely.
So Haseeb, when this war is over, Israel is in serious economic trouble.
Absolutely.
But
not
they
only
have
economic trouble, they're in trouble in terms of their credibility, in terms of their standing in the world, in terms of their morality, in terms of within the society itself, the disconnect, the disharmony, because you are seeing now all of this, the facade of human rights and all these things have been removed, and people are questioning. People are questioning so many things which were taken for granted before. The defense of Israel and all of that. People are questioning that. And they are questioning the whole irony of the Holocaust. The Holocaust did happen. We suffered from the Holocaust. And now it's in
Holocaust
the reverse.
number 2.
Yes, it's in the reverse. And, we know the Nazis, what they did. And now it's like we have to replace the Nazis. And so, this is causing a lot of questions, especially among the young people, and especially among young Jewish activists in the United States of America. So this whole myth that is of Zionism as an extreme form of racism, has been laid bare, and people are, young people are not going to take these things anymore. They're very serious, and I think they are targeting the young advocates and activists globally, and it cuts across nationality and religion and everything. They are looking at an end to the occupation in general. It's not about finishing the genocide. It's about bringing occupation and apartheid to an end, so that this colonial enterprise, is completely rejected by the young people of the world. And this movement is growing on a scale that, governments can't imagine, they can't grapple with. In the United States, they can't grapple with what's happening on the university campuses, and it's spreading like wildfire. And it's not going to stop. This is a revolution within, within the world.
I think the problem has evolved into a human problem, into a humanitarian problem, into it. This is not just simply Israel and Palestine. This is where you stand as a human being in relation to what is taking place there now. I think that is it. But you raise another. I think the clique in the clique in Israel that governed Israel, they are working on the base. They're not thinking about economics as we are talking about it here. They are thinking of their influence in the United States and that they can get the United States to do what they want the United States to do. The APAC in the United States, the Congress of the United States, a lot of congressmen owe their seats to the APAC.
I understand it, yeah.
And also they have a great influence into who is appointed into the executive. It's not only the Congress and the Senate, it's the people who are appointed in the executive. They have a big say in that. I mean, if you look at the State Department of the United States and make an examination of the senior people in there, then you will see the influence of APAC in the appointment of officials.
But you need to tell our viewers, APAC is the
the
pro-Jewish
Israeli
lobby.
Pro-Jewish lobby in the United States itself. So the influence of, it's a two-way thing. Everybody say that America got the ability to turn off the tap and everything collapses. But on the other hand, there's another stream that runs. The influence of Israel in the United States administration itself is not, I don't think it's given enough attention, and that is why a lot of these things have continued to happen.
But one of the things that came out of one of the things that came out is coming out of this horrendous genocidal committed by Israel is that when the thing started, and about a month ago when the students started to protest, you heard the donors to these universities were withdrawing their donation, and then you see the connection between the major universities and Jewish money power.
Mm-hmm.
Even now in Colombia, a whole set of corporations are not dissatisfied with how Columbia University handled the crisis and withdrawing. Yeah. So this Jewish money controls not only the senators and congressmen. Those people fund universities.
Strategic areas they control.
But what I want to ask both of you, I think that it was a neck and neck race with Biden and Trump, and then large sections of American society was saying that after how Biden reacted, we can't vote for him alone. We can't vote for him again. So it's either they're going to stay home. But now, with this police brutality in this campus, I think Biden's goose may have cooked.
I don't know. I don't want to predict that, because, I mean, what I would say that the American people are in the American voters, or the conscious voters in America, are in a very awkward position. The choice that they have is not an easy choice. Between
but
Biden
I think Biden Trump may lose because of
Trump. But you got to understand too that Trump is one of the cause of what is happening now. Out of this recognizing West Jerusalem as the capital, and so forth. And he has demonstrated a very strong pro-Israel commitment as well. So I don't know. I mean, I was thinking myself, if I was a voter in the United States.
But maybe your conscience, you can't vote for Biden.
Being a strong supporter of Palestine, what would I have done? Maybe I would have abstained from voting.
But I think, Haseeb, I think that abstention is going to be so large that Trump is going to squeak in, and maybe we're now facing the end of the war with Trump.
But a lot of the pro-Israel voters were also going to vote for Trump as well. They're not all voting for Biden. I think a lot of them support Trump as well.
Which means Trump likely to win. I'm asking both of you straight. You think Trump is going to win?
No, I don't know. I think it's still up in the air, even though Biden has presided over this horrible genocide that is taking place here now in Israel, and allowing it to take place and happen and continue to support. I still am not convinced that he would lose the election, because if they had a clear choice if the American had a clear choice of a candidate who was standing up for peace and for proper international relations and so forth,
he would have beat
then
Biden.
I think they would have won. But I think both men, probably with different degree, are on the same side on this issue.
My analysis is that if this might be the first time that American voters will vote for a candidate based on American international relations stance.
Apart from 1980 with
yes.
Carter versus Reagan with the hostages in Iran. I think that caused Carter to lose.
So before that, all the time it's about the internal dynamics of the United States of America, the economy, migration, immigrants, and all of those things.
But not this time.
I think this time it has to do with international relations. It has to do with the way Biden has handled this whole handled the war, and it's a dilemma. It's a very difficult position that conscientious American voters are going to face with this upcoming election. So it's going to be very interesting to see what will happen. I think there will be large swathes of abstention.
But you see how those police are acting? Yeah. You would think that is when South America had military dictatorship.
I don't think they would have acted differently if Trump was there too. That's the problem.
Right. No, they would not have acted
the power of the lobby. The power of the lobby is remarkable. I mean, it has been there all the time. But this here has clearly shown and brought to the fore the kind of power that the Zionist lobby has, and how the extreme elements within the Jewish society has actually been dominating or using, the Jewishness as a political weapon. So here you are faced with this very difficult situation.
The operator signaled to me, we have 2 minutes more, is what the world is going to be like after this. This is genocide. This is countries that taught us in the third world what democracy is like, that are now supporting genocide. Tunnel Ramotar, Haseeb, Yusuf, you both went to universities. You know, people looked up to the New York Times, Washington Post. 15 years ago, you tuned into CNN. Now look how those international journalism has fallen on its face with how they report in Gaza. Do you know that Israeli bombing of Iran hit an Air Force base and an intelligence gathering building? Two very important that was never reported. Do you know the Hezbollah in northern Lebanon have inflicted severe casualties on Israelis? And you're not seeing that in the press? What, to sum up, Donna, what's the world going to be like? Has the world changed forever?
I think there will be profound change, and new alignments are beginning already to take place. So it's interesting to see what will happen. But my more immediate concern is what would Palestine look like immediately after this. Already people are accepting the fact now that for a lasting solution you need a two-state solution. But already there is indications are that some people in the international community, they want to decide for the Palestinian people who should be their government. They're saying that Hamas must not exist. Hamas must no longer be in Gaza. This is a threat to the very existence of Hamas. And my own view is that for a lasting solution is not only to recognize the Palestinian state, but also to recognize, to demand the fact that it is the Palestinian people who must decide who should govern them. And they should have a role for the United Nations to hold elections in the Palestinian state for them to choose a government of their own choice. And no government should be now imposed on the Palestinian people. Let the people decide who they want to rule. That is the normal democratic practice that we know it, that should happen. And that is where I think the immediate struggle would come now to the fore. Once this war ends, how will Gaza be governed? How will the Palestinian state be governed?
Haseeb, after this war, you're going to visit Gaza. I know you travel around the Middle East. Where are you going to stay?
No, I don't have plans to visit Gaza. But like I said, we lived through a lot of our generation lived through a lot of great changes in the world. We saw the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Apartheid collapse.
We saw the collapse of apartheid.
China is now a superpower.
Yes, and we saw global the shifting of global politics, how the global South is playing more a dominant role in international
that's Donald's field.
Politics and all of that. And I think that will continue. We are going to have a more people are going to advocate for a more equal system, a more equitable system in terms of international.
Before we go, the government of Palestine's Assistant Minister of International Cooperation is in Guyana to hold talks with the Guyana government. The government of Palestine's ambassador to Guyana is in Guyana to have talks with the Guyana government. And keep this date, May 11th, Saturday, 6:30 p.m., a vigil for victims of genocide in Gaza and for the people of Gaza in general. It's always good to be talking to former President Donald Ramotar. I hope he's writing his memoir. Haseeb?
Okay.
We will see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.